This is Paul. Yes. I'm standing up because it was raining last night. And while I was walking over here, it didn't rain, but I had borrowed an umbrella. In fact, I did have an umbrella, except it got stolen. I had it in a rental house where the tenant had a bleeding ulcer. And all my items got taken. Oh, and I was really concerned about it this morning because I thought we had law enforcement for the reason of enforcing the laws. Now I'm really faced with some very difficult decisions today. How are you? Did you realize that you actually have that badge for the reasoning of the enforcement of the laws, and me having to borrow anything when I actually did own something? I know the police department says that if I don't file it, see, there's this concept of the enforcement of the laws. And the sheriffs won't do anything, the police department won't do anything, and I inform them of a trespassing, yes, a burglary, yes, mail theft and possession of stolen mail, yes, vandalism, oh, and I'm really very upset that I had to borrow anything to be able to just survive until you decide you're going to enforce the laws. Now, I did mention to a certain somebody that I emailed the law enforcement every day for the last 3 years. Somebody that's an oath, badge, or an attorney has had the knowledge that my rights have been violated, and the thought was that I'm the exception to the rule. You don't have to enforce the laws because there's always that one citizen that you never have to enforce the laws for because you wanted me to call. Well, you've been playing exception to the rule. Does somebody know where all my personal items are? Because as much as I consider the renter, the tenant, my friend, I dislike conflict. Do you feel that way sometimes as police officers, that if I was to mention not having jurisdiction of law for the unlawful arrest, you consider it resisting arrest instead of resisting unlawful arrest? Oh, it could be that you thought that I was the exception, didn't you? You don't have to enforce the civil rights of citizens. There's always one citizen where you have knowledge of a crime and you don't have to enforce those rights. I'm the exception. I'm that one individual in the whole of the United States that doesn't get to have the laws enforced. And police department said, well, if you don't file a criminal complaint, we're not obligated to enforce the laws. And I thought when you sent an email that documented a crime, it was the obligation of law enforcement to follow up with the evidence and then investigate the crime to find out the truth of exactly what I was saying. But you thought, no, we can say it's resisting arrest instead of recognizing that the petitioner didn't sign the protection order. Yeah. There's forgeries of an elected oath of office. Did you get a protractor, or are you still... Well, how's it possible that there's any exceptions to the enforcement of the law? You didn't enforce the RCWs necessary to issue protection orders where there was no proof of service. Now, we're going to work with the exceptions to the rule today. Port Angeles Police Department. You thought that a police department, you were the exception to all the other police departments. I did mention in a previous video I'm suing every sheriff of the United States. Every fucking one of them. For thinking that when they receive an email that documents an actual crime, that they could say, well, he's not in our jurisdiction, he's not in our county, he doesn't live in our state right now.